How's the agency been going?
Yeah, yeah, pretty good. I'm just learning a lot as you do. The definitely learning to set expectations properly, which I
Yeah.
haven't, which I didn't do for the first two clients. It's just trying to avoid that back and forth. You want to get everything on the onboarding call, and then it's also just some learning curves really. I wasn't offering the appointment booking, which I learned is pretty important because you don't wanna have to rely on them to follow up with the leads because they're just not gonna be asked to do it essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a different layer of complexity for them. I've always managed to make it work without appointment setting, but it does. I was pretty lucky at the start. I was able to build a reputation so that when I went into these conversations, it didn't necessarily need to happen because I don't like, I don't promise like booked appointments or I just leads. And I really, when it comes to leads, I don't promise a specific number either. So, I know I'm fortunate to be in a position where I can do that. I know at the start it's completely different. But yeah, so where are you struggling, man? Let's have a chat and try and nut out some of the logistics of what's going on at the minute for you.
Sure. Regarding service delivery is going pretty good. I'm managing to get a lot of leads in, um, which is going good. I've gotten a good grasp on the whole Facebook thing now.
Oh, good. Did those videos help?
Yeah, man, yeah, heaps, yeah, really good. Especially that the whole lead form stuff, which really
Yeah.
great.
Overcomplicate it, right? That's all you, it's not complex when you think about it like that, but everyone tries to find a secret trick and it's not. It's just like knowing your customer, knowing how people react to things is the secret.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Where I'm struggling is, I don't know, I'm just finding myself like just playing this game of cat and mouse all the time. Like I'm back and forth to the client, I'm back and forth to leads because I'm offering the appointment booking as well. And it's just eating up a ton of my time. And I don't really have time to do outreach. And then before you know it, it's 3 o'clock and I've got to go and work my shift at the bottle. So yeah, just maybe just time management, stuff like
Yep.
that. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like if
100.
I'm going the way I'm going now. I've only got 3 clients and it's pretty hectic with all the leads and stuff. Like, how am I gonna manage when it gets to four, five, six?
Yeah, yeah, of course. So what revenue number are you doing at the moment? What are you roughly doing a month?
So what I'm doing, it's 750 a month for the
Yep.
service. Yeah, that by 7, so it's about that by 3. So I'm doing like a pay after results basis. So
Yep.
it's once you get 10 qualified lead people that have raised their hand for a quote, then you pay the service fee. Um,
Yep.
and then
Okay.
with another client, I've got once you have booked the appointment, then it's pay the service fee.
So around, let's say like 1,500, 2 grand a month.
Yeah, yeah, it would be. Yeah,
Okay.
7, yeah, 1,500 a month. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. The thing is, right, there's inflection points. It's funny because I'm literally making a course on this right now. So it's front of mind. So do you know do you know Cam? Have I mentioned Cam in any of our conversations? He's like my ops director, right? He's been with me
Um,
since the very start.
yeah, I've
And
seen one of the videos. Yeah.
yeah, so that's Cam, right? When we hired Cam, firstly, we couldn't afford to hire him. It was like we were really hard up against it, but I needed the help. And it was the best thing I ever did because what it did is it freed me up to generate revenue. So right now, like realistically, um, should you be hiring someone? Probably not. But do you need to hire someone very strategically for very specific parts of what you do? 100%. Because the thing is, if you were to, and I'm just going to make a whiteboard here quickly. The thing is, you look at what you do as most people, I'm not saying you specifically, but most people look at what they do as like big swaths of time. In an agency, this is what your day looks like. This might be like client one, Facebook ads or something like that. This might be like, say, reply to emails, right? Just this would be a calendar and this might be like 8 to 9, 9 to 9:30 sort of thing. You look at it as big swaths, but actually all of this stuff is made up of a whole bunch of smaller tasks that take 5, 10 minutes at a time, right? Now, what you need to do is you need to claw back 5 or 10 minutes at a time, not big swaths. So the first thing you need to do is do a time audit and work out exactly where the time is going. And then from there, I think what you need probably right now is like what you would call an executive assistant, but in this case, it'll be like a general virtual assistant. Someone that can, once you break down these tasks into smaller bits that make it up, someone that can do the manual stuff take 5 minutes, 10 minutes at a time. Because you think about it, right? If you freed up an hour right now, as long as you're using that hour to generate revenue, then it's a way better use of your time from an hourly rate perspective. So right now, there'll be things you're doing that are worth like $2 an hour, $3 an hour, because they don't directly generate revenue and they're like replying to an email. It's like worth nothing because you client already paid you. So it not only reduces your margin or increases it. There's stuff there that can be done by just about anyone. They just need to be shown how to do it. Right. And that goes in the same with the Facebook ads. Like this, like daily checks of Facebook ads can be done by anyone as long as they're showing how to do it. So that's what I'm going to suggest you do. That's the thing I did when I first started is I felt like I was the only one that could do a whole bunch of stuff. But when I actually broke down what I was doing into smaller bite-sized stuff, I worked out that pretty much anyone can do it, but I was just too lazy to make the learn video that I needed for it to actually be able to be palmed off to someone. Basically, the first thing you're going to have to do is like an audit time. And that is, it's confronting because you'll find that you're wasting a lot of time. But the main reason you want to do it is to see where your time is actually getting lost in the day. And then from there, you'll get a series of bunch of stuff you've done. And then it's about trying to develop a task list of like at least an hour or two's worth of stuff a day that someone else can do. Then from there, you're going to go onto a site like Upwork or online jobs or PH, and you're going to hire a Filipino VA to do 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, just to do that stuff. Because like your goal is not to find a media buyer. Your goal is not to find a salesperson because those people are too expensive for where you are at the moment. Your goal is to find a set of arms and legs that can just do stuff for like $3 an hour. Right. And if they can do that stuff for $3 an hour, and as long as you're generating more than 3 times what they cost you, then so as long as you're doing activities that generate $9 an hour, you are going to be so much further ahead than doing that stuff themselves. So because if you think about it, if you just got an extra hour a day of free time, you could use that for outreach, you could use that for client support, and you could use that for strategy, you could use that. Like it doesn't sound like much, but an hour is 5 hours, 5 in a week. That's 20 hours in a month. 20 hours a month, that might mean the difference between you get 2 extra clients or no extra clients. So, and the beauty about having someone that's got extra capacity, maybe they're only working with you 2 hours a week, is as you get bigger, they can go to 5 hours a week, 10 hours, 15 hours, 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week. And they can just scale with you until you're ready to start actually hiring properly. So this is more like every agency owner should have an executive assistant. Like it doesn't matter what size they are. Every agency owner should have an executive assistant. Yours is just going to be more general than what most people do, which is like, check emails and like fire emails back off and things like that. So do you have any questions about that part?
Yeah, it's just because I have to call the leads up and then I'm on my outreach method is cold calling. So with that being said, it would probably help to have someone that doesn't have an accent. Like,
They won't be doing that part. They won't be doing that part.
like
They'll be doing, no, because you can't afford to have someone that doesn't have an accent. What they'll be doing, so the best analogy I've got is if you go to any private doctor's surgery, that's someone that does like cosmetic surgery or like gastric banding and stuff, but a private surgery,
yeah,
there's generally one surgeon and 4 or 5 surgery rooms. And what they do in the day is they literally walk in. The prep, everything else is done by other people. They literally do the thing only they can do legally. And then
yeah,
everything else is done by other people. So you will physically probably still have to call these people because you can't go and afford another Luke or another surgeon. So there's no reason why the prep work beforehand can't be done by them. There's no reason why they can't follow up after them. There's no reason why they can't take the notes, turn them into stuff that can be used. There's no reason why they can't spin up the proposal document, whatever goes after that, your process before and after. So that literally only thing you have to do. So what would take you like 5 minutes beforehand and 5 minutes after that can be literally done by anyone else. And you just are there bang on called out. And then that's like the surgeon going around and putting the actual band on and then a lower and then close them up, finish them off, wheeling out of the room and stuff. The surgeon doesn't do that. They literally just go in there, put the band on and then walk out to the next room, until you can afford to replace yourself in that process. Because to find someone without an accent, you're going to be paying Australian wages or you're going to be a commission on 750, which isn't probably going to be economically viable for you or the person doing the calls. So If it's a pain avoidance thing, as in you don't want to do the calls, that's different. It's a completely different conversation. But if it's I don't have enough time in my day to do the calls and do everything else we need to do, then you need to we need to shift the focus so it's only on the things that only you can do. Like, again, you don't have an action. So there's only some things that you can do that you couldn't hire someone right now to do, so that you free up all the time around those things so that you get some of that time back so you can either make more calls or do other things. So is it a pain avoidance thing, or is it that you don't have enough time?
I think it's a bit of both. It's not having a schedule, and then not like when you've got other things that come up, you might put the cold calling off. You'll get a client and say, "Oh, can you change this in the ad?" Or you're trying to fuck around with go high level automations or something. Some automation isn't working properly or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of both. Would you recommend just cold calling, or would you do? I know I was doing those like personalized balloons, which you were talking about, which are pretty good, but they're quite time consuming to do.
Yep.
You're
They
doing
are.
like a
Yep.
forward. Yeah,
To me, so what's been the most effective thing for you so far?
I've got all my clients through cold calling. Yeah.
Then keep doing cold calling. Like, I know it's something you don't enjoy doing. I get that gist. It's because the things you're telling me, the alternatives aren't exactly fun either. But if they're more fun than doing cold calling in a way, or you understand them better, or you're more confident in that stuff, then you'll always lean to doing that stuff. Because a client's go high level working is a good example. Does that need to be sorted that at that very point in time that they call? Probably not. Yeah, okay, I do well, but if they miss out on a lead because you do it 2 hours later or 3 hours later, as opposed to right now, it's not going to end a relationship. But you're pushing that stuff forward because it gives you an excuse not to do the cold calling uh, while still doing stuff that is important to the agency. It's not necessarily that you don't need to do that go high level fixes. It's more if I push it now, it gives me a good excuse not to do the cold calling so I can just focus on, because then I can say, "Oh, I had to do that." But actually, like, the question then becomes, did you have to do that right now at this very point in time when you should have been cold calling? There's a lot of stuff that probably could have been done later. Because cold calling has a finite window too. Like, you have to do it within a certain time frame. So I feel like it's more a paid avoidance thing. And then the overwhelm that comes with the fact that there's things that need to be done that aren't getting done because you are cold called.
Yeah. And it's also you only get a window to call these leads because it's either in the morning or in the afternoon because normally
Yep.
they're at work or something like that. So obviously I work at night. I normally start at 3:30 or something. So it's just got the mornings to call the leads really so that they actually pick
Yep.
up. I guess with cold calling, it's as long as I get a hold of the business owner, it doesn't really matter what time.
Yeah. I think that's the core issue, because a lot of this stuff is symptomatic, right? There's a lot of time. This course that I'm doing now, like, I'm procrastinating on it because it's hard. It's hard making a course from scratch. But I've learned over time that you can keep infinitely busy as an agency owner. Like, there's so many ways to do. There's so much to do that you can always put your head on your heart and say you got things to do. It's just sometimes it's prioritizing whether it's the right thing to be doing at that right point in time. So how do you manage your time during the day? What do you actually do to track your time?
Nothing really. I
Okay,
just
that's where we need to start.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you can't expect, even if you were to hire someone to hold the time, you can't expect them if you have no human book to sing from. So the single best thing I've found for tracking time that's simple, that's the biggest problem with tracking time is people are tracking what they do during the day is they make it too complex. So let me find this thing. It's called a tactical time blocker. I still use this to this day. It's like really good. And essentially what it is, close this, and I'll send you the link to it where you find it's free, and it's like a piece of paper. So I find that I like to print it out and just have it next to me, but you might want to have it on the computer or whatever.
That's
But
that. I'm old school like that as well.
yeah, you remember more if you actually write it down. So it's designed for people with ADHD. So it really resonates with me, but essentially this is what it is, right? And what you do, obviously this is your day and this is I don't actually know what that's for, but I'm sure there's some reason for it. I just don't use it. Your focusing goal is to have one daily highlight, like one task that you actually want to do. And then you tack on 3 important things that you need to get done, right? That's the goal. So you're aiming to do 4 things a day. You're not aiming to do any more than that. If you get these 4 things done, your day has been successful, right?
Yep.
So what I tend to do is like, it needs to be something you want to do. So like me, generally, it's like making a YouTube video or something like that, or be some like researching. It doesn't have to be agency related. You can just be like researching holiday destinations, but something that you want to enjoy. And then this will be like cold calling, XYZ, fixing XYZ problem, blah, 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 blah. What you do is you then on this left-hand side, I don't know if I can actually write into this. On this left-hand side, you would go ahead. It's not going to work. You put the time. So let's say your day starts at 9. So it'd be like 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, blah, 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 blah. So then you have some, then you put away constraints in. So like you have work from 3:30 to whatever. So that will take up that block. You may go to the gym at a certain time. So I put that in there generally up here somewhere. Then you can see where your day is. And then all your only job is to put those 4 things in there. So you've got to you've got to roughly allocate time to these. So I'm 60 minutes or whatever. And then you put those, let's say cold calling is an hour and a half, or you do an hour and a half a day of cold calling or an hour. You put that in there as a block. Your daily highlight might go here. And your third thing, actually, I should be able to annotate over this. Here we go. So your cold calling may be a block here in the morning. And then you might go, actually, I'm going to between here and here, do the task I enjoy, then here, like that. So you would end up with 4 tasks on there every day, right? Then the rest of the time is for time for doing other shit. All that stuff you got that's pops up during the day gets done in between there, because it doesn't matter if you get them done or not. The important thing is getting those things done.
Yeah.
Right. Now, there is times, the reason why it's got this reality is because there is times where you just have to shuffle things around. So what you do what I do at the end of the day is this is the plan. What actually happened, I put on this side. So I did that, this call or whatever. And then I revised the plan as if it was done. And then the next day I carry shit over. So if there's things that I didn't get done or I need to do during the day, because I have this out on every day, I put stuff down here that I need to get done the next day or in the week or whatever. I just put it down there. And then the next day I just make them my important task and find a time for them.
Yeah. Okay.
That works so well is because it's not rigid. It's as long as you get that 4 stuff done, then anything else that pops up during the day can fit around there. Your goal is to get those things done and nothing else. Anything else that pops up around it is a bonus. And then if something pops up that shifts stuff around, then you can work out next time how you adjust your timing to account for that stuff. But you got to have some way of documenting your day, because if you don't, you end up just getting overwhelmed because you're like, oh shit, I know I'm supposed to be doing this. Whereas I find by putting the constraint in there, knowing that I need to do calling between this time and this time, when this time rolls around and I've got a big red square that says I should be cold calling and it should be at this time, and I know that there's nothing else I have to do except focus on that, I go, now there's a constraint around it, there's a start and end time, I can physically see it. And then I go, shit, okay, I better start doing this because I've got to get this done. It's important. It's like one of the only 4 things I need to get done today.
Yep. Sure.
And it's
Yeah.
amazing. Once you do it for like a couple of days, you start to just naturally know what is important and what's not. And then the not important stuff, because then what happens over time, you start to work out what can be done by other people. Okay, well, only the cold calling can be done by me, but this person needing this, there's no reason why I couldn't have just had a VA do that. Send them this document or send them this report or fill this email. Someone else could have done that. If I just focus on these 4 things, we're going to generate revenue. And that's the most important thing for the business.
Yeah. Okay. It's just, I'm not really from the whole kind of corporate world. I'm more from like the tradie working with my hands work. So I guess it's just learning that type of thing as well. And it's just
100%. This is a lot of trial and error. I've tried all different ways of time tracking. This has just been something that has stuck for a longer period of time than most of the things I've tried. And it's because it's simple. You don't want to overcomplicate it. There's time tracking tools and you can micro your day so that every second is accounted for. But a lot of the times you just need to so if I turned around to you and said, you only had 2 hours a day to work on your agency, and once that 2 hours finished up and the clock stopped, that would be it. that you couldn't do any more to your agency, you would get as much as you needed done in that 2 hour period because there's constraint on your time, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh shit, I've only got 2 hours. I better get this done because if I don't, I'm not going to have any more time. If the computer just shut off, that's what this does. It forces you to have an endpoint. So you go, oh shit. Because what I do is if I don't get it done, I just stop. I just go, okay, I had till 12:30 to do it. I didn't do it. Okay, I'll have to do it tomorrow. So there's some things that doesn't practically work with, but most stuff, it's like, for me, it will be like do 2 modules on my course or something like that. So I do
Yeah.
that and go, oh shit, I didn't get it done. Okay, well, I'm going to have to do 3 tomorrow to make up for it in the same time. So yeah,
That's why I had to stop working with Damien because I was calling all of his leads up and trying to book installs for him. But it was just so many leads to call and constant follow up as well. And it was just like, I can't do it anymore. So, yeah.
yeah, that could lead to a quite, because I think there's a lot of things you could be doing on the Google Ads to improve them. So it's less volume, but higher quality. That's what we're going to be focusing on with him. But yeah, that time constraint thing is a real thing. Like this course, I've got 9 days. I've had 3 months to do the course. I've done more in the last 2 days than I've
Yeah.
done in the whole course because I've only got 9 days left to do it. So it's starting to come to the end point. So I'm like cramming it out.
Yeah.
Same thing happens here. It's if there's this whole thing about money thermometers, I think I've mentioned in a video once, but like every person has an internal money thermometer, right? And it's set by like how you're raised and whether you come from a rich, poor family, whatever. So let's say, for argument's sake, it's $1,000, right? $1,000, you feel the most comfortable. If you got to $2,000, you would subconsciously be doing everything you can to get to $1,000. And if it was under $1,000, you'd be doing subconsciously anything you can to get to $1,000. And your equilibrium point might be this $1,500 a month. We just don't know. So like activities up. So when you were earning $0, you did everything you could to get to that number. You were cold calling every man and his dog probably to try and get the first couple of clients. Now that you've gotten to that equilibrium point, pushing past that to get past that point is why you're not doing the cold calling, perhaps, because
Yeah.
it's like, it's a subconscious thing, but you might go like, I'm comfortable here. So like the goal is to push through that so that you force that temperature, like that equilibrium point to be higher and higher progressively. Cause yeah, like you probably can justify not doing the cold calling in any way you want, but you probably know in the back of your mind that you need to do it. It's just, it's more convenient an excuse to say, I've got to do this guy high level fix and actually do it. Because like I said, if you were at $200 a month, you would be the flip side. You'd be like, no, I don't want to do the guy. I can't do the guy high level stuff because I need to get more clients.
Yep.
So if you force yourself to do it through setting a physical time to do it and doing nothing else but that, then at least it will get done. Whether you still have those issues is irrelevant because you're doing nothing else in that time. It's like that
Yeah.
time allocated to this, unless an emergency, like a mum gets sick or whatever, like unless an actual like client's website stopped working or someone physically needs it done like right there and then, your only priority is that. Because
Yeah.
that's in this is what's saying your only priority. It removes the fact that all these distractions come in and you just put these distractions in the bottom. And when you have a gap in your thing, that's when you plan the rest of it out.
Yeah. And another thing I was finding is I was feeling like I couldn't deliver the service. So I
Yes.
was like, I was struggling
Focusing
with
on
that. And I was like, shit, I can't deliver the service. It doesn't matter if I get a new client. If I can't deliver the service, then what does this matter?
yeah,
But I'm getting some traction now and I'm getting some leads coming in and I'm honing in my craft a bit more and being like, okay, it's not going to work if they're not going to be bothered to follow up on these leads that I'm getting them.
yeah,
So I'm going to try and control as much variables as I can. So I'm going to book them in for the quote date. All they have to do is show up and do the quote and then try and help them win the quote as well. Like you said, with like the personalized videos or just like a few tips on
yeah,
how to stand out a bit, which is good. But yeah, I'm just like, I used to do a lot of traveling before this. Like me and my missus would work FIFO for a few months
yep.
and then would go traveling for a few months. So like my whole end goal here isn't to become a millionaire. It's just I just want a cash flow business to allow us
So,
to
yes.
travel. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that could be another thing to address because was it quite painful to get the service delivery side working? on
Um,
your mentally?
yeah, it was. It was just like I felt like this isn't gonna work. Yeah.
So it could be just your mind's way of protecting you from threat, right? So like the way the brain works, it perceives threat, regardless of whether it's a tiger running, chasing after you in the jungle or you having to learn a new skill that's incredibly difficult to learn. The brain perceives those threats exactly the same. So it, and you avoiding cold calling and you procrastinating on the things that actually generate revenue could be just your way of subconsciously protecting yourself from pain, because
Mm.
it may not, like the cold calling side may not be the pain part. It's the fact that you're going to have to learn more service delivery and you're concerned you're not going to be able to deliver. So you're subconsciously self-sabotaging what you're doing so that you can avoid that pain. So you can just, that's the problem with this space. Like I said, it's a lot simpler when you are a trainee or when you do work in a factory or whatever, because if you're a chippy and you don't put up certain, or you're, say you're a brickie and you don't put up certain amount of water a day, the job doesn't get done. So it's okay, whether it's painful or not, I need to get this done so that I can finish the job. So it's a
Yep.
lot more black and white. It's like you can push through the frame because there's a lot less things that you can do. The wall's not going to build itself. So regardless of whether you answer a phone or pretend like you got things that are more important. So actually, the most important thing is adding an extra 5 meters of brick to this wall. That's the most
Yep.
important thing. If I don't do it, it's not going to get done. That's the problem with running an agency. Is there's so many things that you can justify to say, oh, this is important, when actually, like, you need to treat it in the same way that Ricky treats our wall. Okay, what do I need to do? Like at its core, what is super pressing to keep pushing this agency forward? Fixing this guy high level is important, but this is what I'm talking about, things that can be done by other people. It's like that, yes, that is important, but is it important right at this very important time to push this agency forward? Probably not. It could be something that could be done later in the day. It's, it's important, needs to be done. It's like a brickie with going to have to get more bricks or something. So I have to go and get them. But right now, while the sun's out and it's dry, I better put these bricks on the wall because I can go to wherever and get the bricks anytime. So it's the same sort of principle, right? So I've just learned over time to really, and I've been bad at it lately, to be completely fair. This course is a good example of what not to do, but like I've, when the agency was full noise and I had all the people, I really focused on going, what do I need to do to make sure these people are employed? Because my actions directly affect whether they're employed or not. So me faffing around on YouTube, is that going to keep these people employed? No. What I need to do is keep generating revenue, keep finding more clients, because that keeps people employed. In your case, it's what will get me closer to being able to travel full time and get rid of this job that will free up 20 hours a week of my time. Well, it's generating revenue. That is like you got to be like the Terminator and go, yeah, all this other stuff I've got to address as they go along. But my only job is to free up that extra 20 hours a week. Because if I free that 20 hours a week up, then I can focus on tying up loose ends. Because right now you have a massive 20 hours a week that just goes to the ether. It doesn't go to achieving anything. It's really just there to make sure you get gainfully employed and pay your bills.
Yeah.
But your short-term goal should be that. It should be like freeing up those extra 20 hours by generating enough revenue so I can get rid of them. Because that, as far as like an effect on your ability to run an agency, that will be huge. Like more than learning how Go High Level works. Because you free up the 20 hours, then you have all the time to be able to do that. And it might be short-term pain like you're feeling right now. But once you get to that point where you can nip the job, then that pain is like almost immediately alleviated because you'll have more time. So I always tend to work in spurts like that, of like real bad pain for a spurt to get a relief of pain. So like this course, right? I'm getting paid a lot of money to make this course. So I'm like going through a lot of pain at the moment, trying to get it done on top of everything else I have to do for the relief, like getting paid for it. So it's a lot of pain right now for something that will help a lot in the future. So maybe it's not necessarily, because right now it's probably a little bit too early to hire. So I want to be completely honest. Like You should be aiming from a nuts and bolts perspective. If you're going to hire someone, you need to be generating at least, as in revenue per head, at 3 times multiple on what you cost for the business. So if you're like at the moment, let's say you're paying yourself 1,500, paying yourself $1,000 a month. I don't know what, but I can say, let's say you're paying yourself $1,000 a month, then over a quarter, you need to be generating $9,000 in revenue to justify taking that $1,000 out. And so if you whacked another person's salary on top of that, that would need to be 18 in a quarter, because
Yeah.
otherwise I'm pretty close to not being able to afford to pay for them. If something like you lose a client, you afford not to be able to pay them. So there's really only two options here. It's either try and make better use of your current time right now by being more efficient with it and like really focusing on the things that matter and allocating time to them and making that the only thing you do. Dude, when I'm like in a focus mode, I turn my phone off completely. You got voicemail,
Mm.
they're gonna leave a voicemail and you can answer it then. Or check your emails after. No one's gonna, unless something like the good thing about this space is that very rarely is something an immediate problem. It's more like it's a problem, but it's not immediate. It's more, oh, this needs to be fixed in 24 hours or something like that. Or this needs to be fixed overnight or something like that. It's never, the only time it's really for us is when a website goes down. If a website goes down, it's something that's immediate, but everything else we found it's, oh, that can wait till the next day or that can
Yeah.
wait till this afternoon. Knowing that's the case, you detaching from your phone and email when you're doing these priority tasks is what I would be suggesting. Just turn your phone off, turn your emails off, and just, we can't realistically turn your phone
Yeah.
off. Like, if someone calls you that's not number, just hang up on them. Don't answer it.
Yeah.
They're not gonna, then it's so easy to turn around and go, oh, sorry, I was on the toilet, or sorry, I was talking to my mum, or I was with me, I was at the hospital with my mum. No one's going to question it. And it's an hour, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'd be doing. And then really try and protect those 4 important tasks that you have to get done in the day. And then worry about all the other stuff in the periods between them.
Okay, sure. Can I ask, well, like when you were in those early stages of the agency, what did like a typical day look like when you were like grinding?
Yeah. So with me, so before I had Campbell, it was literally just me. I would basically obviously get up, like not saying get up, but physically go, like when my day starts. The first thing I did in the day for the first 10 or 20 minutes is plan it. I'd basically allocate 10, 20 minutes a day, sit down and do this, just work out what I'm trying to achieve in the day. And then I just roll through it. Now, most of my day consisted of basically 50% sales activities. And that was generally split up between doing these Loom videos, because I didn't do cold calling, doing these Loom videos and finding people for these Looms and making those Facebook Lives. Made a heap at the start doing those. That was basically my outbound strategy. So I did that, and that would take up half a day, most days, half of my working day. And then the other half was trying to sort out getting results. I was doing SEO, so I have to do technical SEO on things, like fix up websites, build, and then I'd just allocate that between clients. So like I'd go, okay, I'm going to spend an hour on this one, an hour on this one, and I would just work through them. But every time, like I did all that planning at the start, like I knew exactly what I was going to be doing in the day. It was more just like getting the same problem you're having now is something I struggled with at the start. You feel guilty having someone ping you and not respond back. And just they say, oh, this isn't working. It's actually, you work on my schedule, not the other way around. My day's planned to get the outcome I need. I need to lay those 5 meters of bricks. I can't do that if I go and spend an hour buffing around with whatever you got problem with, right? So it took me the first 6 months to work that out, because what ended up happening is because I never set boundaries with the clients. I was just at their call and beckon anytime they had a thought, and I'd
Yeah.
lose half an hour. And once I started being a little bit more ruder about it, and go, oh, sorry, can you just email that to me? They stopped doing it. They only did it because I was picking up the calls. Once I stopped picking up calls and like replying back to them like there and then, they stopped doing it, and that freed up a heap of time. But yeah, mostly I basically, because like I said, I had to generate revenue because I quit my job. I put a lot of my emphasis and focus on generating revenue. At least half of it every day was allocated to generating revenue. The other half was making sure I didn't burn anyone. But yeah, the first half of the day, pretty much every day was like looms and like making Facebook Lives and things like that.
Okay. Could I also ask if you had a bit of extra money saved up, let's say, I don't know, like 10 grand, because I've got quite a scarcity mindset when it comes to money. I like to make sure I'm all good. Like, if you could allocate that into the agency, what would it be? Would it be those VAs to help you out, or would it
Yeah,
be just
100%. The best thing I ever did in this agency was hire Cam. Now, you probably can't afford Cam, but I was lucky because Cam, so funny. Cam had never worked in an agency before in his life. He was a guy that used to strip down machinery to go to China. They strip them down
yeah?
to metal, bare metal, and then send it over. So he was
Okay.
doing that. But I was introduced to him and he was a massive nerd, like Dungeons and Dragons, computer games, everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I was like, this dude is going to be really good at this if he's shown how to do it. So we came up with an arrangement. He worked for free for 2 months. The government paid for him. He was on Centrelink. So he just got, I said, dude, I can't afford to pay you right now, but I'll teach you literally everything I know about marketing. And then once we're in a position to be able to afford to pay, then we'll take off it. But you're not going to be able to do that. But if I had $10,000 to allocate to my agency, it would be 100% freeing up my time because if you can't afford a cam, then you need to be it. But then you can be the surgeon to have everyone around you. So I would like 10 grand would get you 10 months with one VA. Like that's all. If you can't generate the revenue to pay for her after the first couple of months, then you're not doing it right. So I would allocate like 2 or 3 grand into a VA, maybe someone that's a little bit more skilled.
What would you get them
And
to do?
honestly, what's that?
What would you get them to do?
All those little, so I would order my day by the minute. And let's say, for instance, let's say Facebook ads, right? You're in each account for 10, 20 minutes a day looking at numbers and stats and everything like that. You can you can make a Loom video on the things you look at and get someone else to do that and just send you a spreadsheet with the numbers in it. There's 20 minutes each client that you save. And or you teach them how to do the basics of stuff and then go, if there's anything more complex than this, then let me know. Like your Loom outreach. Let's say you wanted to do what I was doing with Looms. You can get them to go and find the people. You can get them to work out who the right fit is. And so literally what you have to do is record a video and send it back to them. They can send it off. They can do everything, all that stuff around. Obviously you're going to have to physically be in the video, but like everything that is around it can be done by someone else if they're showing. So like I would be,
Something that could
what's that? Sorry?
like could be like lead generation, finding the business owners' names and putting them in a spreadsheet, something like that.
There's a whole bunch of stuff you do during the day that if you just recorded a Loom of yourself doing it, anyone could do. Right now, you just haven't recorded yourself doing it. So no one else could actually copy that process. But there's things you do from an email perspective. You could like you could get someone to manage your emails during the day and just send the super important stuff to you and everything else they can handle. And all you'd have to do, what I used to do at the very start until my VA got up to speed was she would send me an email she wasn't sure about. I would send her a voice note back on what I wanted in it. She would write it up and send it. So I'd be like, oh, can you just say to him back that is he available in the afternoon to have a meeting? Send that voice note to her. She would go off and write it and send it and deal with it and book it in and stuff. And that would have taken me 20 minutes of turnaround. That freed up 20 minutes to focus back on what I was doing. Even your cold calls, right? Finding people to cold call. If you get someone that's interested, like the follow-up sequence that happens to that, like to book them in for an appointment, if that's how you work or whatever, all that can be done by someone else if they're just shown. And you think about how much, like it's all little 10-minute blocks, but like you think about how much time you would free up an hour and 10 minutes at a time by just giving all that crap to someone else. The stuff that you go, why am I doing this? This isn't worth my time to do. If you can just give that to someone else, then you can go, okay, it gives me more. I don't have to worry about that stuff popping up. Oh, the email's going to be, Victor, can you just tell them this is, babe, it's done. Focus on what you're back on doing.
Yeah, sure. I did try and get my girlfriend to do a bit of it, but she wasn't having it.
Yeah, it's not, dude, it's very difficult for significant other do that stuff because
Yeah.
she probably doesn't like getting told what to do by you. It's
Yeah.
and then, like her role might be different long term in the age. It might not be that. It might be managing someone like that. It might be whatever. But my wife and I work together. I very rarely tell her what to do. It's more like she manages a certain part, which is the admin side. And then if I do need something, she can run it go off and do it if we need it. But, and also like your girlfriend's a precious resource. You will need her at some point to help, right? You don't want to get her doing menial stuff when there's something that she can really help you with and that she'll feel gainfully employed or just help you out of desperation. Like you're like, shit, I really need to get this up. Can you just help me with this? Even if you just go through this list and highlight these numbers, there'll be something where you actually need her to help and you don't want to burn her and she's, oh, no, you just, but it's $3 an hour or $5 US an hour. You can pay someone that you can just have no guilt about telling what to do. That's
Yeah.
why you do it. Because it's like, when I tell her something that to me goes, oh, that's really ridiculous. Someone's asking me to do that. You're like, you're paying them to do it. So you expect it done. Whether it's the right way or wrong way to do it, it's my money. So go off and send that voice note. This is how we go to communicate. I'm going to send you voice notes. And every time I send you one, I want you to type it out. It sounds dumb, but sorry, that's how we're going to do it. And there's a value to that. So I would be using part of that 10 grand to do that. And the rest, I don't think you need to spend that much of it. Honestly, there's not really much at the start you can spend on. Like you could look at hiring someone to help with cold calls and media buy and things and media buy and stuff like that. But like you'll just blow through the money and you won't have the revenue to support them anytime soon. So it would only be a short-term solution that you would get comfortable with that at some point would have to stop. So you're better off just like pushing through that and getting really good at what you do. What I would be doing though, while I'm doing it myself is just like recording looms of any little bit of process that gets done. If you do something on the computer that someone else in the future could potentially do, and this may not be you right now, may not be able to afford it, just while you're doing it, talk to the camera on what you're doing. So just hit lure, do it anyway, but just go, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm clicking here. This is what it affects and stuff like that. So you start creating all the stuff that you need to be able to give off to someone and go, okay, this is part of what you do now. But yeah, if you allocate $2,000 or $3,000 to a BA just to cover their wages for a couple of months until you generate the revenue to support it, that would be a way better use of that money than putting it into ads or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. And how do you go about that? Because obviously I want to maybe charge a little bit more for my services, but I just wanted to make sure that results are getting done and things like that. Like, how did you aim to charge more, like for your services?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I was lucky. I was lucky that I've never had an attachment, really an attachment to money in any way. So the reason you're not charging more than you should be is because you're afraid the person's going to say no, right? Like you can't afford for people to say no to you right now. So you get to this like scarcity mindset where it's like, oh, I have to say a number that I know they'll say yes to. What that flips at some point. You'll get to the point where you're like, I've got too many clients. I'm getting way too busy. I need to do something to throttle growth. And that's when you start charging. Once you can afford to lose someone in a sales call, then you start to go for the throat and start asking for more. So what I did is when I started, like I was like, you know, take anything on. But once I started getting too busy and I didn't like it, I just, every time I had a sales call, I'd just ask for more money. And eventually you get to this point where you hit equilibrium where there's a balance between your skill set and what people are willing to pay. And then you just stay that until you can ask for more. If I had 10 appointments in a week, let's say league appointments in a week, 8 of them would be normal pricing, 2 would be experimental pricing and just try a different one, or 7 and 3, 5. It just depends on how busy we were in the agency. But as the agency got busier, I just asked for more money because that's not necessary. It's what you need to, a lot of people have this preconceived idea about what they think someone would pay for what they do. I get it all the time in the easy group. Oh, that's a lot of money. You do realize that some of these guys have spent $60,000 on a car and you're asking, that makes them no return. And you're asking them for $1,000 for something that makes them $10,000. It's like your perception of money is affecting what is actually mathematically right. So all because you don't value what you do doesn't mean they don't value what you do. And
Yeah.
once I got that in my head, that actually it's not about what I can and can't do. It's what they're willing to pay because they think they're getting value from it. I started making money hand over fist because it was like, I went from, $1,000 a month to being like, it's $1,000. That's what it costs because that's incredible value for you. As, yeah, that's fine. That's heaps. That's good.
Yeah.
So
What
right now, I think it's just a scarcity thing. Maybe you're worried about losing potential shots at the board, but that will flip at some point and you'll be like, I care less about it now.
Once I've only been doing it for maybe 2.5 months, maybe 3 months
It's-
at the moment. Once I have gotten some awesome results and the clients are super happy, I've already got one that's pretty happy and is willing to do a testimonial. Once I've like, gathered the proof and can back up what I'm saying, what do you think I should aim to start charging? Because obviously 750 a month isn't the greatest.
You got to make some work off your margins. So right now, this is one you wouldn't know it, but like right now, it's super important to know what it costs you to do the work. So very back of the envelope calculation here. And this is why it's very important to, from the very start, even if it's just you, work out what you're charging per hour to the clients. Because for instance, right, like you got two clients, right? And let's say, for instance, you spend 10 hours a week on each client,
Yeah.
right? So that's 40 hours a month. And you said you're charging roughly 750. So it'll be 750 divided by 40 is calculator 750. So 750 divided by 40 is $18.75 an hour, right? Let's say hypothetically that's the number. Now that is your break even point on this client. So that's what you're generating in revenue, 18.75 an hour. Then you need to work out what it costs you to run the agency. And the way you do that is you just take all of your expenses, including yourself. Let's say you have, I don't know, 200, I don't know, let's pick a number. Let's say it's $1,000 a month of expenses. So you're going to take that as 160 hours in a month that you can work, right? So you just go 1,000 divided by 160. So your expenses to run the agency are 625 an hour, right? At 1,000, I'm tipping it's more, but let's say it's 1,000. So if it costs you $1,000 a month to run the agency in a 160-hour month, which is 40 times 4, it's 625 to run the agency. So if you're charging if you're getting $18.75 an hour from the client, then you're not going broke.
Hmm.
Now to work out what you charge, you just need to know what your break even point is and then just attack a margin on there. So you're like 18.75 an hour, you can basically charge whatever you want above from that, whatever the client's willing to pay. And that's the hard thing is you don't know what the client's willing to pay. It's got a lot to do with your ability to sell it. But as long as you're not charging, so you always want to have at least a 100% margin because there's more to this and this very basic sum. So as long as you're charging more than $13 an hour for what you do, then you're fine. But then I would be trying to tack a margin onto that as well. $750 a month, if your overhead running $1,000 may be fine. But what happens is as your agency gets bigger, this number becomes 5,000.
Yeah.
If you're got clients that are, let's say you got 5 clients that are doing 750 an hour, let's say you've scaled up the amount of clients, but your costs have gone up 5x as well. You start to get to a point where you're not making enough to cover your expenses. And that's where you have to charge them. So your advantage in the market is the fact that it costs me $160 an hour to run my agency. So there's a minimum floor I have to charge. If mine's $60 an hour, I'd have to charge 5 times more than you're charging right now just to break even on that time. So I think, I don't know the best way to explain this. You basically, as long as you're not going broke, as long as you're making a margin on the money, on like what it costs you to run the agency, because this doesn't include how much you want to pay yourself. So that's where this number gets a bit shady. So if we actually made this like, say like you wanted to pay yourself 4,000 bucks, right?
Yeah.
So let's say your overheads for the agency are 1,000 and you want to pay, so that's $5,000 divided by 160. $31 an hour, right?
Yeah.
So if you need to make $31 an hour to break even, if you want to pay yourself $5,000, you either have to acquire more clients for that $5,000 to make the difference up. So like you have to, so at the moment you got 2, you might have to get more to make that difference up, or you need to charge more for what you do to account for that. So like at the moment, you spend 10 hours a week, you generate 85 hours, you can make that 5 hours a week so that you're making $39 an hour. So you spend less time on each client. or use cheaper labor. That's the other part of this. So if 5 of this was done by someone else, this changes this number as well. Or you charge, so like you could do, work out ways to be more efficient with the clients and then charge more. And next thing, that's $60 an hour. And that means that you're covering what you want to pay yourself or what the overheads is at $5,000. That's how you start to work it. So what I would do if I wanted to work out, in your case, if I wanted to work out what I should be charging, is project into the future about what that number needs to be so you can leave your part-time job and make that the number you run your agency plus whatever and fudge factor for it. Just go with $1,000 a month, but that would cover a VA and a couple of subscriptions and things like that. So say $6,000 a month, and then do the math on these clients and work out ways to make that number, this number, twice the size of this number. And if it has to be you charge double, that's what you have to charge. If it means you have to spend less time on each client, then that's what you have to do. But your job is to make sure that this number here is double this number here at least.
Yeah.
Because if it's not double, you're slowly going broke. Like if it's just like 31.75 to run the agency, you're making 35 an hour, you'll slowly go broke because there's things that pop up. Like it's not, you might spend 12 hours on one client, it blows out. So you need to have a good margin, healthy margin on that to grow. So that's how you determine how much you need to charge. So I'm tipping that you're undercharging based on where you want to be, but
Yeah.
you may be spending 5 hours a month on clients and that changes the equation. So you need to sit down and use a thing like Toggle, say, for instance, and actually track how much time you spend on each client working on it.
Yeah. Okay.
A month, how much time you spend on it. Once you know that, then it's just math and you can work back and go, "Okay, I'm undercharging. I'll have to try and work the next clients again. I'm going to have to try and get them to 1,500 a month somehow. Or I'm going to have to do less time on it. So it's
because it's quite high ticket stuff.
Yep. So that's how you do it. And as long as the client's maintaining a 7 to 10 ROAS on your ads, then, and what you charge, then it's worthwhile. So if the client charges 1,000, let's say they have $1,000 in ads and then you charge, say, 1,500, so it's 2,500, they would need to be making like roughly 20 to 25 grand on that to justify that cost.
Yeah, sure.
Because then you can always back up what you charge from that. If they go, oh, that's a lot. It's not actually, because for every dollar you spend, you're going to be making $7 to $10 in revenue. That's at least, you can go to any agency in this town, like anywhere, and ask them what they would expect to get from a campaign, and they're going to tell you exactly what I'm telling you.
Sure.
Because then you're providing fair value too. That's the thing, is like people don't work out this number, so they don't know if they're actually, what they're charging is fair or not, as in value wise, like they're getting value. But if you work it off that and work back, then it's fair value. Like they should be paying that.
Yeah. Okay. Also, just one more thing. So I've got 2 clients in like flooring, like epoxy flooring and polished concrete. And I've got one as a security installation, like CCTV. Have you got any more sort of niches to go after? I'm going after fencing as well.
Yep.
Fencing, because it's
Fencing's
quite,
solid. Fencing's a really good niche. She said they're super busy at the moment, so you might not find anyone that wants leads.
yeah.
Why aren't you just scaling up the niches that you're in?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that would be more smart, right? To just stick with the epoxy and the polished concrete.
Just because the only reason I say that is because it's very expensive to rebuild for every niche. So your job right now is to make as much as you can using efficiency and the most efficient use of your time. Make as much as you can with the resources you have. Every time you go to a new niche, what may take 10 hours a month with a epoxy flooring client, because you have ads that work on tweaking. If you go into fencing, you might have to spend 20 hours or 30 hours with the first client, which blows your margin right out of the water. You would only explore new niches once you had a bit of margin, bit of padding in your agency to be able to afford the hit intake gives you to the bottom line of your agency. Because you're going to have, especially once you've got a team, just one thing, you probably would be reasonably efficient because you have skin in the game. Once you get a couple of people involved, they're not going to be as efficient as you were, like switching over and looking for wins and things like that. So it can take a while to ramp those up. And all that
Yep.
time, it's time that is just eating into your margins. So you're almost better off like using epoxy flooring and did you say roofing was the other one?
Uh,
What's it?
Polished concrete and security.
Yeah. So you're better off using those two as the launch pad to get you to a point where you have a bit of extra margin and you've got a bit of padding. And then maybe look at tackling a niche on if those niches are too small. But I know epoxy floor is an interesting one. I know that one's reasonably niche, but like security is not. There's heaps of security companies out there that need help. So it's like you think about it, like your book is only your book of clients is only ever going to get to 50 at a very max. At our absolute peak, we only ever had 90 clients.
Yep.
That was making 1.2 million a year. It's there's only so much capacity you actually have. If you were to get 20 security system clients, that might get you to 30K a month. You're like a third of the way there. It's not, there's only said again, there's this scarcity mindset. I think it's like you feel like people feel like they have to cast a net super wide because they're worried that they're just not going to find enough people. But you're only trying to take a very small part of the market. So it doesn't have to be that big a market. If you got, let's say there was 100 epoxy floorers on the planet, if you got 10 of them, like that's still enough to make a decent agency because if there's less of you probably charge more too. I wouldn't be worried about fencing right now. I'd just be focusing on getting 10 or 12 in each of those niches you're in, even
Yep.
5 in each. And then go, okay, well, actually, I want to go into fencing because I think there's a scientific or mathematical reason for doing it, not just I want to cast the net water.
Yep. Sure. Sure. Okay. Yeah, I'll stick to those then. That's good.
Yeah, it like makes sense because it's a very expensive way of doing it, just hopping into different niches.
Yeah, I also went out and made like videos for the security installation one. So we filmed like a video of like me trying to break into a car and then like the alarm.
And yeah,
Yeah, so I did a bunch of stuff like that, which I hope will help me stand out a little bit as well. But yeah, I think going that extra mile is pretty good as well. Do that.
yeah, dude, all that collateral stuff that you can use, it's all experience. That's what I mean. As you're building experience in one niche, there's no incentive to go and switch. It's just an unhealthy distraction almost to go, oh, I'll move into this niche when you don't have any of the stuff set up. You're going to have to go and get all those videos and do things like that again. It's I'm better off just sticking to what I've got and then just flogging it hard until you've got a reason to switch it up. That's what I've always, even though I work with it and a lot of niches, they were never like simultaneously. They were like,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
work fine, flogging hard. Oh yeah, then this guy's asked me to do that. Oh, I've got extra time capacity. I'll learn how to do that. Then flog that. Then flog the next niche. And next thing I'm like, we've covered like 8 niches, but it's been over the space of 8 years. It's not all done in 6 months.
And I know your kind of area of expertise is service delivery. So I noticed every man and their dog's doing, click below to claim your free quote. Would you always recommend like trying to figure out a different offer with a client? Like trying to you need a better offer than just a free quote?
No, you don't have to overcomplicate trade services. It's like, okay, it's different when you're trying to sell something that someone doesn't need, right? So if you're selling a service like fidget spinners, you need something because it's not, someone doesn't need it. Whereas with security system, it's generally a trigger why they're doing it or something's caused it. So there's a genuine need for it because they've been robbed or they've had a scare. So you don't need to sell it hard. You just need to sell why you're the person. So
Yeah, okay.
that's why it's so important to do the pain points and solutions because it's like, you know what the pain point is? You offer yourself as the solution. Then then the call to action side is just a formality more than anything else. It's just a way of them getting in touch. But like a lot of times you don't need some kind of special hook for that because like you've already sold them on they've sold the concept. They just need to mechanically get from one point to the point where they contact you.
Yeah.
Depends on the niche, but like in the trade services niches, no, just focus on selling them on you why you are the man to do the job and then just get them to get to the form in whatever way you can.
Okay, cool, cool. Do you mind if you just quickly have a look at one of my ads real quick?
Yeah, man. Yep. I've only got 5, 10 minutes, but we can have one for sure.
Be super
Just
quick.
send them to my wife while we're doing that.
Yeah, good.
I finished use it. Yep. Cool. Okay.
Can you is that too short? Hang on, I can get it on a link if you want.
Yeah, just put it on a link and
Oh shit. Sorry.
Let me just take control for a second. Might be a bit easier. Has this been working for you?
I've literally launched the ads yesterday.
Hey, did you just close that? Did you just close that box? You need to make it so I can take control so that you've got a thing saying
Oh,
settings,
yeah.
open system settings, and just give Zoom access. So just tick that box and then just like your password in there. It just allows me to move the screen around. Okay. Should get it. Yeah. Yep. Cool. Southeast advance. There you go. Okay. The ad's not too bad. The video is going to be what carries it.
Watch this guy attempted to break into a home in Byford, WA. Lucky that they had a CCTV security system installed. Click below to get yours and have that peace of mind that your home is safe.
Yeah. That video is good. I like it. Doesn't need
Watch
to be much.
this guy attempted to break into a home in Byford.
What I would say is I would be trying to connect this statement to something else that leads into this. Break-ins are on the rise in south of Perth. It's only getting worse. And then you lead straight into the cameras. Like if you've addressed the pay point, you really need to emphasize why this is important and then offer. So it might be like, I'm just going to spitball here. Be like, break-ins are on the rise in south of Perth. They're only getting worse.
The thing I've got underneath it's like in 2023, 190.
Yep. And be like so it would be like in 2023, 100 blah, 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 broken into, you join the point. And then I'll be like, join the thousands of other Perth homeowners who are making their home safer or keeping their families safe with core tech security. You can, for a limited time, you can get our fully installed and then click learn more. And then with the learn more bit, I would be like, click learn more to keep your family safe today. Because what's the outcome? What is the actual outcome of a security camera? It's not to watch them. It's to like keep your family safe. Like why would someone spend $2,000 on this? Is to keep their kids safe. That's the actual outcome that the security camera achieves for them.
Yeah.
It's not the to put fancy cameras up so they look pretty. So if we emphasize that as a solution, it's finally keep your family safe or whatever. And then I would just click learn more. So finally keep your family safe today or keep your family safe today with Cortex security. And for a limited time, claim your one free camera upgrade with a built-in alarm.
Okay. And I do want to have the price of
Yeah.
how would I keep the price in there?
Just leave it the way it is. Just add that stuff in the start. And I would just have starting from $2,221, just so that people get an idea that there's other costs in there. Potentially, unless that's the only camera system they install. But yeah, so you would keep that in there, but you would just have all the lead before that.
Okay. So put the in 2023 part below the break-in part.
Yep.
Get the 4 cameras fully installed.
Then you would have joined the hundreds of other Perth households who are keeping their families safe with Cortex security. You can get 4 cameras fully installed, or did you know you can get 4 cameras fully installed, or for a limited time, get 4 cameras fully installed CCTV for blah, 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 blah. So you just lead into what you got there and then just tweak the bottom bit.
Yeah. Okay. Did you know you can get 4 cameras? Yeah. Okay. And then, tweak the bottom bit. And then the call to action is what would you put the call to action was? Sorry again.
I wouldn't have that. I would just be like, keep your family safe today.
Keep your family safe.
Yeah. Or protect your home today. No one's going to click this because it is claiming free if they've got no context of what they read. So again, it's the outcome. It's like, why would this video resonate? Because it's like creates fear, right? Like someone walking up into your yard. So having that, keep your family safe today, gives context. Oh, actually, I want to keep my family safe from people like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So if they just watched it in a vacuum without seeing the actual ad itself, like if they just did this, when it loads, if they just seen the first sentence and this, and then they seen the camera and then keep your family safe today, they would get the gist of what you're trying to do. Whereas like claim your free camera hybrid is just going to attract people that are trying to get free stuff without actually having context of what it is. Because it's like this perceived value. What value do people put on keeping their family safe?
Yeah.
like a high value, right? Whereas saying it's clean, free camera, people are going to be like, oh, it's something for free. I'm going to click this and just fill it out because I might get something for free. Even though this says upgrade, it still says free. So like anything that says free is just going to attract people that want something for nothing.
Okay. But you still recommend keeping the offer and the price in the ad as well.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You know,
Okay. Cool.
or you, like, keep your family safe from $2,221. If you wanted to like really push the pricing, you could have that. Keep your family safe today from $2,221,
Yeah.
or starting at $2,021. If you find the lead quality is poor, like that could be something you try.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Because I just want to get like good quality leads in. Awesome. All right. Thanks heaps for that.
No worries. Hopefully that was helpful. But I do have to jet. But hopefully there was some value there for you. And yeah, that time blocking, I'll send you the link to that after this. That time blocking is super important because without that, you're just gonna spin your wheels. Like you need some way of formalizing time.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I think if you were just to give the cold calling the credit that's due and go like it's super important, and then make it so nothing can distract you from that, it will get you to that point where you can get rid of the 20 hours a week that you do at the moment. And then also try and work out the math behind if you were to quit your job and what the agency would need to support that, what hourly rate you would need to be earning to justify that from an agency perspective.
Yeah. Sure. No worries. Yeah. I'll definitely implement that. Thanks heaps.
No worries, mate. Have a good one.
All right. Cheers, man. See ya.